Hey guys, what's up? It's Goldseraph here for Deuces Cracked. Um, Making a little bit different video than usual this time. Going to be reviewing for tabling 200NL session by Lemon Shillbot, who is a Deuces Cracked member and responded to my solicitation for a video from a member for me to review. I received two videos, so I'm going to do the other one also in time, but this one came in first, so Lemon Shillbot, you get to get your video first. Firstly, I hope he doesn't mind me doing this, but I looked him up on table ratings, and let's see here. Yeah, I'll just bring this up for a minute. As you can see, over his last 116,000 hands, he's had a pretty tough time and is down some money. I hope he doesn't mind me showing this, but anybody can look this stuff up. And that doesn't mean he's necessarily down all time or anything. I mean, my stats on here are pretty bad too, but it was just like they started doing it in like March or something, and I just haven't played that much on full tilt since then, and I had some pretty sick downswing. So anyway, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, he's a losing player. Just the last 116,000 hands on full tilt he's been. But I did a little further investigation and went to his sessions list and for the last 30 days and sort by the net. You'll notice right here 2 400NL sessions, including a 406 max where he dumped like $1,000. You can see that in his general tab here, like 98% of his play is at 100 and 200NL. But when you look at the losses, 400NL, 400NL, here another 400NL, also a 100NL heads up, which doesn't seem to be a game he plays often. So just subtracting those 4 sessions, that's over $2,000, and so if you're just taking away, and those sessions only compromise like 1,000 hands at most, so that little tiny section of play, which didn't go well, and may have been tilt induced, really hurt his results. So I would advise to others. I really don't like all this jumping around of stakes and whatnot. You'll see I really think you should focus on like one game and one stake most of the time until you're getting good results. If you're in a downswing like this guy is, I would be really focusing on playing one level and beating that one level and not jumping around to, there's 206 max, 109 max, 209 max, occasional 400 heads up. It's just kind of jumping all over the map, and even on the same day, we'll be playing like 4 or 5 different kind of games or something. Yeah, like it's January 5th, I think I saw. There's, it seems like he was trying every 109 max, 102 max, 106 max, 209 max again. So yeah, I just think that kind of inconsistent stake playing and stuff is probably not well advised, especially when you're in a downswing like I think that Lemon Shillbot is. Yeah, you really just need to focus on being good at one thing and sticking to that one thing, and not being capricious or taking shots when you're frustrated or saying, oh shit, like FullRing sucks, I'm gonna play some heads up and give that a shot, and you're just not gonna be, it's not gonna be as plus EV. It's just trying to get your one game down. So anyway, I'll go ahead and start the video here, and I'm just gonna be commenting on this as we go. I haven't seen it yet. This will be table 1 in the top left, table 2 top right, table 3 bottom left, table 4 bottom right, and he's showing what his stats mean here. If you want to pause it and take a look at that. I told him to keep the stats pretty simple. Table 1, he got 3-bet with his Jack 10 suited, which I like his button raise and his button raising size. He got 3-bet by an odd stacker, and it's just kind of an ugly spot. Let me see, how much was that 3-bet to? Okay, yeah. So we went to the guy went to 14, which you might be tempted to call here in position for 8 more, getting pretty good pot odds. But the fact is, the guy only has $32 left, and he's just gonna basically shove out any flop, and you're not gonna flop enough of the time with Jack 10 suited there. So unfortunately, you have to fold. If he was a full stacker, I would definitely be tempted to call with the button. But yeah, Lemon Shilbot has played that hand perfectly. Yeah. Anyway, I told him to keep the stats pretty basic and just keep it easy on the eyes. So it's just top down VPIP, preflop raise, full big blind to steal, and whatnot. I would have kind of liked to see like a 3-bet percentage in there if possible, but we can do without it. Table 1, this Jack 10 suited, standard. I definitely like raising to 3 times or most of the time in late position. I would recommend that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend playing that table he's playing on table 1, which seems to have a lot of short stackers. Yeah, it doesn't look very good. Maybe I would play it if there was a huge fish at this table, which there may be. Table 3 there, I see Joe Tall. Whoops. What the hell did I just do? Sorry about that. I like Joe Tall. I see Joe Tall there on table 3. I'm wondering if that's the Joe Tall. I don't know. He's bringing up a hand history here for some reason. Yeah, it appears to be pretty standard, but I'm not really going to go over that. So he's on 2 deep tables, and he's only bought in deep on one of them, or maybe he doubled up. I would probably just buy in for 200 most of the time, unless there was a deep stacked fish. But neither of those tables, by just glancing at the stats, seems amazing. Table 2, actually, the player to his right is a 56 so far, and the guy to his left is a 71-21 so far. I guess they don't have many hands yet, but I think he may have bought in deep there because those 2 fishy-looking guys are deep or something, which would be smart. If it's a tough-looking deep table, I usually won't play it, or I'll just buy in for 200, and I just feel more comfortable playing 100 BBs deep against good players. If you feel particularly skilled at playing deep stacked, then you can outplay the regs, go for it. But I find that most full ringers aren't that comfortable playing 200 deep, and they just kind of play nitty. If you can play aggressively deep against good regulars, and you have an edge doing that, then go for it. But I'm not sure that I do, so not at like 400 in L, definitely. So yeah, he just raised 8s on table 1 and took it down, which is standard. Don't do it. Don't click that auto fold button on table 3. He almost did it. Oh, he did do it. Yeah, I mean, usually that's a fold, but I might occasionally steal the blinds there on table 3 with 4-8 suited, just as pretty much a total bluff. But I just discourage auto clicking fold on the button with almost anything. So yeah, 200 NL on full tilt. I've done a couple of videos on that. I mean, I've talked about how to beat those games. I definitely think a slightly loose aggressive style is best if you can manage it. Table 1 there, I would. What is this? He just goes all in. I really don't like that against the big blind who has like 27 BBs. I'm not sure why he did that. I would have just raised it to $6. Against a full stacker, I usually make it $7 or $8 from the small blind. But against a quarter stack, I think just raising it to 6 is sufficient. Table 2, oh, sorry about that, guys. I actually accidentally paused it. Yeah, table 2, it looks like he just called a 3-bet with 8-5 suited. Let me rewind it just a second. Yeah, but yeah, table 1, that jam with King Jack, I think that's pretty bad. I mean, a guy like that might call you with Ace X, and you in like any pair, and he doesn't really want that. And he could get called by a hand that dominates him, so I just really don't like that. I would just raise to 6. Yeah, table 2, he gets min 3-bet by this loose seeming player, and for that price, yes, I would, and especially deep, I would definitely be calling that 3-bet 100% of the time. I'd never 4-bet it. There's no reason to, and I would never fold for that price. And I would definitely think that that player to his left is a donk now after that min 3-bet deep stacked. It's kind of weird. Okay, so the guy min 3-bets him and then checks. I think that there's not really that many great turn cards that he can catch at this point. So I might have taken that check as really a sign of weakness and taken a stab at it, like a bet fold. Now when he checks behind, I think he's just hardly ever gonna like the situation better on the turn. Except maybe he picks up a 4 of clubs or something like that, but there's some kind of straight draw, flush draw combination. But if he turns a pair and the guy wants to get any money in, he's probably not feeling so hot, and he's pretty much gonna have to fold to a bet on the turn if he doesn't improve. So I kind of like just I think a lot of guys will make those weird little 3-bets, like donkish kind of players, and then if they have like ace high, they'll just check a lot of the time. So I would have just taken a stab on that flop and just folded to a check raise. But now he pretty much has no initiative and has to just fold to a turn bet. I don't know. I mean, I guess he could like represent a set or something, but I wouldn't really be wanting to do that against a donkish player. Okay, Rex Wex, who seems like laggy, sort of raises it up, and I don't mind a flat here. I don't mind a 3-bet either. Considering the Wex isn't deep, I would think that 3-bet. I would have only 3-bet to 22. I generally 3-bet to 22 in position and like 25 out of position. But this has been talked about in other videos on the site, but it's against a cutoff raiser. I like a 3-bet a little more just to balance your range for 3-betting him a lot in that situation. But since he raised it like 2 off the button, I think it's a little more likely he has like decent hands. And sometimes you don't want to 3-bet and make him fold like Queen Jack, Ace X, lower aces, lower queens. You don't really want to make him fold those hands when you could just call. And if he flops a pair, aggressive player like Rex Wex may think you're playing back at him or something, and you might get a lot more money out of him that way. Whereas if you 3-bet him, it's almost more turning your hand into a bluff a little, because if he 4-bets, you can't be feeling too good, and if he calls you, it's probably not with many hands that you're dominating. So if that makes sense to you guys, for that reason, I would be just calling there a lot, and if I did 3-bet him, I would only make it 22 since he's not deep. If he's deep, deep stacked, I make my 3-bets a little bit larger most of the time. Yeah, so he gets check min raised, which I would have probably shoved over the top, because I just feel like Rex Wex isn't like just calling that 3-bet with like aces and kings and queens all that often. I think a lot of times he calls it with like mid-pocket pairs and says, if it's a low board, I'm just gonna like check min raise him and see what he does. But he can't be feeling that great if he check min raises you and you shove after you 3-bet him pre-flop. I mean, he's gonna fold a lot of 7s, 8s, or 7s, 9s, 10s, stuff like that. Maybe even finds a hero fold with like jacks, just because he can't really put you on doing that with like ace high here, unless you really have a lot of metagame history. So that checkman raise kind of seems a little weak to me. I feel like these guys, if they think you might be 3-betting them light, they'll make that kind of play on this sort of flop with like any pocket pair. And if he does have tens or jacks, you still have some equity or whatnot, and it's just not that often he's going to be showing up with queens, kings, and aces in this spot, with being a 22-13. So I like just jamming over his. I think he still has enough of a stack left that he can find a fold. He's got $131 behind still, so I would have just quickly jammed there, and you know, if he calls you with queens through aces, that's, you know, a little bit of a setup. But again, that's another problem you can kind of avoid by just calling pre-flop with a hand like ace queen against an aggressive player. You don't have to make such committing decisions. You know, you can kind of control the pot more if he, you know, makes a big check raise and you've got a little something or whatever. Anyway. I wonder if that is really Joe Tall, because he's playing 32-22 on table 3 over 85 hands. That's laggy as hell. I wonder if he's doing a little experiment. I know he said he was trying to learn no limit hold'em or something. But I like the king 2 raise on table 4. I'd be raising any like suited kings or maybe even queens there. Suited jacks, not so much. Unless it's like, you know, obviously a straightening jack, like a jack 10 or jack 9 or something. But yeah, I mean, speaking like suited raggy Broadway hands. Like jack 2 suited there, I might just fold sometimes. Unless the blinds are really tight. Alright, table 2, rewind that pre-flop action for a second. Table 2 looks like he flops a set. Looks like there was a limp under the gun and he limped along with 2s, which is totally fine. If you can get in for that price, especially at a deep table, that's great. If the action had folded to him, I would generally raise this. Now here, okay, so this is a pretty common spot where it's a really, really dry board. It's multi-way, and you flop a set, and you're wondering, like, can I afford to slow play this? Or, you know, you're almost afraid to just donk out and, like, scare everybody away, because it's just so dry. Like, people aren't going to have hands that are going to pay off very much, and it looks kind of strong for you to donk out into a 5-way. But especially since there's a lot of deep stacks here, I feel like you really got to bet this out, and you know, just hope that somebody has a jack X, or, you know, even get a call from 3-4 or something like that you don't hate. Or yeah, you hope one of these you know, more aggressive players maybe gets a little crazy with just jack X or something like that. So I would donk out like $8 or something like that. And he bets 18 into 1140, which is really strange. I understand they're deep stacked and all, but I still don't think that merits like way over betting the pot with a set on this driver board. And okay, so he gets raised, which very quickly. This person that raised him is a 25-6 over 91 hands, and he is deep stacked. So it's kind of a scary situation. I would probably just I think that the best play here might be to just call. Not that you're necessarily going to just fold on the turn or whatever, but or that you're necessarily trying to pot controls as much. I guess if he is just making a feeler raise with a jack, you don't necessarily want to blow him out of the water. And the board's so dry, I don't really care about disguising a turn card. So I think I would just call and then probably like check raise the turn. And if he just jams over the top, it's pretty sick. If it's like a pretty blank turn and you check raise him and he comes over the top, it's going to be pretty sick. I don't know if you could put him on just like ace jack at that point. I mean, you might have to, considering how depending on how it goes down, I might consider a hero fold against. Although he only has 90 hands on him, so it's kind of tough to do that. So he does just call, which I like. Like I said, you are kind of underrepresenting your hand, and if he is just getting out of line with a jack, he's probably going to continue, which you want. Where if you bet and then come over the top on that flop, it looks pretty much like a set, and a set only. So yeah, on that turn I would definitely be going for a check raise. Flush draws out there now. There's more straight possibilities, and there's plenty of money in the pot. I would put it to like 100 and you could just jam, or you could bet it enough that he may consider a raise over the top. But he likes to just call. It's not terrible, I guess, but the problem is you're out of position and you don't want to check that river and then he checks behind now because he's a little like scared. I think you just make your move on the turn and try to get him to get his money in there. I'm not sure if he's trying to pot control it here or if he's trying to let this guy keep bluffing or whatever, which I wouldn't really expect him to be bluffing. So I just feel like with his one pair hands and such that his opponent is going to just check behind the river a ton, deep stacked. And you don't really want him to do that and then flip over like ace jack or king jack or something, or pair of queens or tens that he played weird. So I would have made my move on the turn. If you were in position and the positions were reversed and you were going to get the last act last on the river, I might like it better. But here I would definitely have raised that turn, either to a jam or to like almost like kind of min raise that he might jam over or something. Okay, so yeah, now he has to check the turn and just like pray, or check the river and just pray that the guy bets for him. And the guy like bets 188, so that's pretty fucking scary. And he does have a very low PFR, so it's possible, I guess, that he could have limped along in with jacks, but he's pretty much just representing fives and hands that you beat. So I think you just have to call here and hope that he's got ace jack, king jack, and it's just kind of crazy. But you are going to see pocket fives sometimes, but you can't just check fold this river and play the hand that way. And on table 4, I guess let me rewind it a little bit. Hard to keep up with all this action. I haven't done one of these before. It's a little harder than I thought. Okay, so I'm just going to start again here, and I'm focusing on table 4 now, just because 2 hands are going on at the same time. Table 4, he raises sixes, which is totally standard, and I like his raise size. And he has 2 calls from guys in position, and I would just check fold this out of position. Yeah, I don't like c-betting there. There's a 20-12 and a 22-9. I just feel like he's going to get flatted here a lot by ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, stuff like that, or pair of fives. Even like a jack queen, jack king might not fold to a flop bet. So I just don't think this c-bet's going to have a great deal of success, and I would just, especially being out of position against 2 guys, I would just check fold that flop on table 4. He gets quickly called on table 4, and yeah, I think you just have to give up now. It's not like there's like almost no draws on that flop, and you can't really double barrel this very well. I mean, you're trying to get like decent ace. He's probably just calling you with good aces and stuff, so I wouldn't double barrel. And yeah, the guy that's 14. I mean, you could make a hero play and raise it or something, but I would just fold. And he's got an ace, and he's probably not folding it. So yeah, he does on table 2 with the set. He does check call that pot bet on the river, and yeah, he does have 5s, which is a cooler. Yeah, I mean it was that or ace jack or king jack, but when he just came out and pot betted the river, I really felt like it was pocket 5s, but at the same time, against an opponent you only have 90 hands on, it's hard to find a fold there. I mean, especially with the king on the river, you can put the guy on king jack possibly, and yeah, you'd have to put him exactly on 5-5 to find a fold anywhere there. I just don't know if you can do that. So it's kind of a tough spot there for Shilbot. Yeah. I guess he kind of owned his soul by just check calling 3 streets, but saved a little bit of money. I mean, I guess it was pretty strong that he let out into a 5-way pot and then got raised, because unless the guy's just not a thinking player at all, I just don't think he's getting raised light there on that flop on table 2 very often. So I could see being scared of a set, but it's just one of those spots where you can't really put the guy on jacks because it was like a limp train and he just limped along. And yeah, you pretty much just have to make a soul read on a guy with 90 hands and say he's got exactly 5s. I mean, even though that kind of makes sense, like, I don't know, I just think that'd be too nitty. I couldn't do it. Yeah, so table 4, I guess he just like checked into second pair and donked out pot on king jack 3. Yeah, that's fairly reasonable. The guy limping in early position, you can put on a lot of small pairs and stuff that aren't going to really connect. So yeah, I don't really mind the lead on table 4 there. And when that turn card comes, yeah, I would just probably give up. The guy's got a flush draw or a king, most likely. That's $2, so I mean I would call that. But the guy's probably going to bet large on the river. I've seen that play before. Like usually they bet like 2 on the turn and they like pot the river. Oh man, am I good? I called it. I don't know what it's one of those like donkey arsenal moves that I'm not like really sure what the hell it's trying to do, but like they hit their like gin hand on the turn and they're like so fucking scared of you folding. They're like, $2, come on! Like they're trying to build a pot with a $2 bet, and then if you call it, they'll just like full pot the river. So I guess that's some donk like extraction method. Yeah, getting set under sets on deep tables is pretty gross. Hey, Joe Tall's on table 2 also. I'm thinking it is him. And he's playing like a lagtard. Maybe we'll see some interesting Joe Tall hands here. Don't auto check table 4. What are you doing? He auto checked fold on table 4. Don't do that. And he's got a 24-8 and a 15-5 to his left. I mean, they're kind of loose, but they seem like they're not really aggressive. So I'd probably be raising that there if it folded to me. And I might have completed there on the button or ISO'd it or whatever. Just he didn't even give himself any options. I mean, there are other plays there besides just always fold 3-6 suited. Especially you get two limpers. You're on the button. One of the limpers is a 41-3. That would be a pretty good spot for an ISO raise. Or you could just complete and try to keep the donkeys in deep stacked, and well, he's not deep, I guess. But he could have just completed and seen his like flop pretty cheap multi-way, most likely. Table 3, standard, ace king raise. When I'm not feeling lazy, I like to make it $8 in the first two positions with my raises. And then I'll just kind of pot it from the middle position and make it 6 from the cutoff in the button. But if I'm playing like a million tables and I'm like rushed, I'll just pot everything. So he gets called in two spots. The big blind, who's at 24-15, and a middle position player who is 19-10. I would bet like $14 or $15 there. And he bets 16, so that's plenty. I think that may look a little strong. Betting that into two seeming regulars. I think 14 looks a little more like maybe you're just c-betting, where 16 I think looks more like protective. I've got an ace bet, and you may even get like ace X's to fold to like such a bet. It doesn't seem like a couple of dollars can make that big of a difference, but I guess I generally bet smaller than some of my peers, just in general, because I just like to look weaker, I guess, more often. And I don't feel the need to like protect my hand that much. I'm just really focused on extracting value and being deceptive. So yeah, I like betting maybe even like 13 or 14 there, even though there's a flush draw. I'm not really that worried about it. And I mean, the odds of one of them having that flush draw and it making is not very large. So I'm more worried about getting some value out of like weaker aces and but still charging a reasonable amount if they do happen to have some sort of draw. Maybe I get like, if one of them really thinks I'm suspect, I might get one call by a medium pocket pair or something. So, but yeah, when you bet 16 into 20 into two people like that, it's just everybody's gonna just buckle it up and fold. Against like a total donkey, I like the bigger bets better, because if they're going to call 12, they're going to call 16, they're going to call 18. They're just going to call. But these players are both, playing a deep stack table with deep stacks, full stacks, and they have halfway reasonable stats. Seem a little bit loose, but okay, table 4, we got some jacks and EP. Yeah, it seems like the play is pretty snug here on these tables so far. Not seeing a lot of craziness. Oh, wow. Okay. So, table 3, that meh 21 guy just got it in with like ace jack high and a gutter against the top 2. So, it's too bad that he busted out and left. Seems like probably a donk. King 9 there, I would raise to like 7 or 8 there. I guess some people like just raising to 6 from the small blind against anybody, but I just find they get called like a whole hell of a lot when I don't really want to. And good players will just call me with like any 2 in position, or they feel more comfortable 3-betting me because it's like a smaller investment for them to 3-bet bluff me from the big blind. So I just have found when I make it 7 or particularly 8 against a regular, I get a lot more respect. Yeah, table 1 with 2 short stackers in the blinds. If it folded to me, I would probably... Actually, he's got 3 short stackers in front of him. So I would almost always min-raise or make it like $5. You don't want to make it 7 with against 2 short stackers. And he calls a half stacked 17-9 with king queen there, which is fine. And the short stacker shoves. So queen king's probably not in great shape against a 7-6 short stacker. And yeah, the guy ISO shoves. So okay, yeah, he was slightly screwed. Short stackers run like God. Damn them. Damn them, Lord. Yeah, I don't know why he's on that table. There's like 5 short stackers on that table and 2 regs. So, better table selection. There's certainly better tables to be found on Full Tilt. I want to see a war with Joe Tall. Come on. Seems like everybody's grinding 200 FullRing these days. Captain Zebo has been spotted playing on the 200 NL Full Tilt games. FullRing. That guy used to play like 50 and 100 and shit, I think. Yeah, Joe Tall playing 200 NL FullRing. Everybody wants like, I don't know, kind of the easy, mindless grinding money from that FullRing like offers. It's like 6 max is just like too much of a headache these days. You gotta like try too hard, and you gotta play really good all the time, or to really maximize your chances of avoiding hellish variance. It's like, who wants to work hard anymore these days? Just play some FullRing 200 NL, even if you've got like 100k bankroll. Hell, I've even found myself doing it a little bit lately. Just playing like 100 NL, like a million tables. I like the ace queen fold on table 1. Let me rewind this table 2 action a little bit. But yeah, I've even been autopiloting a little bit some 100 NL lately, just because you can still make like a decent hourly rate, and you don't have to like hurt your brain or get stressed out. Alright, so yeah, he raised pre, and then he c-bet on a 6-6-4. The opponent seems very loose. He turns the flush draw. I think I like a double barrel, even though it's a fish. You are deep stacked, and he may just he could be calling down like ridiculously light, or just have like a really weak pair that isn't going to be able to hold up to the heat. When you check here, you're kind of giving him. He seems loose and sort of aggressive, so you might just inspire him to bluff here when he's just got ace high hands like you, and he may decide to bet his hands that he wasn't feeling that great about. Now he may feel a lot better, or even if he might check behind and just decide to call any river now because he showed weakness. I think against this kind of guy, and I like the flush draw too, because if he does just call you again with a medium pair, if you river a flush, it's gonna be very well concealed. He's not gonna put you on a flush. So if it comes like the 2 of diamonds or something, and he's got 7s or 8s, he's calling another big bet. So yeah, for a couple of reasons, I like just betting again here, like $32, and I think that gets him to wilt with some of his hands. And I really don't expect a raise hardly ever. If you bet the turn and he raises, you just fold, and that's okay, because he probably has like a really huge hand, like a 6x or a big pair that he was slow playing. Even though he's like loose, I just don't think he's getting crazy on this board. Or I would think he turned a set of 9s or something, just something bad. He's not going to fold. So I think it's a better to bet fold this turn. But I think he folds or calls a lot more often than he ever raises you. And for that reason, I think it's better to bet. Just giving up the initiative here, and I guess it's kind of that attitude where you're like hoping he checks behind and you get to hit for free or something like that. But if he checks behind, I just don't think you can very plausibly like bluff the river then. So if you miss, you're just kind of like handing over the pot. So for all those long-winded reasons, I would double barrel there, and if he calls, I would triple barrel a lot of rivers. and hopefully just hit something on the river, which would be nice. So yeah, the guy bet's $12. Now I don't understand the point of raising. I mean, you gave up the initiative and he made it super cheap for you to draw. I would just call. Check raises. Looks really weird. Yeah, I don't really understand the point of the check raise. I think at that point you might as well just take the odds. I mean, you have pretty good equity against all the hands that he's going to bet fold here. So yeah, I don't like it. I would much rather just lead. Especially when he makes it 12 bucks into 43. Just call with that huge equity. If you hit your flush, he's not going to put you on it. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like the guy definitely had a like a small to mid pair. But yeah, I'm not sure why he decided to bet fold that turn so weakly. All right, we got a hand going on table 4 here. Also, I'm having trouble keeping up with all this action. Get so absorbed in talking about one hand. All right, let's watch this table 4 hand real quick. The Queen 6. Okay. Yeah, the guy limps into him. I like the raise. I like to punish people that try to limp from the small blind until they've shown that they'll counter it. And yeah, definitely c-bet that flop. That's a reasonable size. And when you get called there and you get that turn, you just have to like give up. Could have Queen Jack. He's not going to fold a 10 or a 9 or an ace if he called the flop. So yeah, I would just give up. And I would still just probably check behind this river. And yeah, that's an easy fold. Easy fold on table 4. And what the hell did he do with ace 9 suited up there? What is he thinking about on table 4? Let's rewind a second for that. Okay. Okay, there was a min raise and a call, and so I like his complete with the big blind there on table 2. And yeah, table 4. That's just, I don't even know what he's thinking about. It's like the easiest fold ever. Please don't call that. Okay. Yeah, so table 2, the guy that min raised under the gun really seems like a donk. Like, he just seems, I don't even know if he's like a spewy donk, but he just seems really inexperienced. His min 3-bet and his weak little turn bet on the previous hand. And yeah, calling the $2. I mean, it's not, you know, I'd probably call. Just try to hit his ace or a 9 or a diamond, or maybe like a gut shot or something like that. Like a 2 or 3. But yeah, once again, there's the little tiny bet followed by the near pot bet on the next street. So seems to be a popular play among these weird donk players. As Bob Ojeda fan, I think this is a pretty good spot to call or 3-bet. Depending on how much credit he gives you. If he doesn't give you any credit, I kind of like calling. But if he does give you credit, I would 3-bet him. And yeah, it's a little large for a 3-bet. But yeah, it's only $1 over what I do. I use 20, 24 or 25, so I don't really mind. Lemon seems to 3-bet a little bit larger than I do. So it's probably okay. And table 1, he flatted with the Queen King and gets squeezed by a short stacker, so probably have to fold that. That's another problem with playing a table with all those short stacks. I mean, that's like twice he's tried to like flat a half stacked or even less guy, and then like a short stacker comes over the top and you have to like bitch fold. It's another reason he should just get the hell off that table. You can't. There's not really much room for play with that many short stackers there. You don't have implied odds. You know, you can't like speculatively call in position very much. It just really strangles you. And what the hell is happening on table 2? Okay, he went for a ISO with Queen 7 suited, which is reasonable. his opponent's a 24-13 and he limped in, so his range is pretty isolated to like pocket pairs and like crappy suited connectors, I would think. And he c-bets and gets like insta min raised, which is pretty weird. With the king high monotone board, it's just I wouldn't expect the opponent on table 2 to limp in with a king x, limp call a king x very often out of position. So yeah, I'd be putting him more on like smallish pairs in suited connectors. But he's a 24 VPIP, 13 preflop raise, so he's limping in a fair amount of hands. Yeah, I would just go ahead and give him credit on this one because I'm just not sure what he's up to here. He could have a set, he could have a king, he could be bluffing. I just don't really know. His range is actually pretty hard to identify with those stats. And he just instantly like min popped that like c-bet. Seems strange. I wouldn't have messed with it. And if I was Lemon, I would also rebuy in full at that table 2. We've got that rather fishy guy to his left, and there's a lot of high VPIPs on that table. It seems pretty juicy. So I would just go ahead and cap off my stack on that one. Whereas like table 3 seems like it's a bit more solid. So there's not really a need to get deep there. And 2's on table 4. I might even isolate because the guy limping is kind of an unknown, I guess. And well, he only has 6 hands on him, but yeah, I guess with 6 hands I might just call. If he was 50-17 over like a significant amount of hands, I think it's a good spot to like isolate him, take the button, but don't really have any read on him, so just I would limp along. A lot of guys like to limp re-raise and shit from early position, so I'd probably just limp along with those 2s and take the button. He was making it 6 on table 3. He was making it 6 earlier from late position, but he made it 7 this time. Gets 3-bet by and apparently it's that same guy at 25-12. Just and he flats it without being deep, which is pretty bad. Yeah, I don't like that at all. I don't think. Well, I guess it depends on like what his plan is. He may have some history with this guy, and he may have played a lot of 3-bet pots with this guy and have some idea for doing that. So I'm going to take that. I'm not going to say it's bad outright. If I didn't know anything about this opponent, it's kind of a tricky spot to just call with 10s there. But yeah, it's probably okay here. If this guy has 3-bet him a number of times before and they have some history, you may not want to 4-bet, necessarily 4-bet, get it in. But you think he'll like, if you like think he'll shut down on flops where he misses and stuff like that, or if you call his bet one time on favorable flops, he'll shut down or things like that, then I guess it's okay. So he does. I like that he bet the flop. Yeah, I'd make it like. Yeah, I would have made it a little bit smaller, just not to look quite as committing. I might have made it like $60 or something, 59. Still enough to definitely set up a river shove if he calls you, but it leaves him more room to maybe think he has fold equity to shove over you. And it looks a little more like a double, maybe a double continuation bet, or like a double. I guess it would be more like a double barrel in that situation. But yeah, I'm not sure why that guy called 1-bet and then folded on the turn. Yeah, it's kind of a weird line for the 3-better to like check call the flop and check fold the turn on that sort of board. He might have had like a, yeah, but I was expecting him to c-bet like a flush draw or things like that. So Not sure what he was up to there. Maybe he might have had like jacks, queens, or kings, and he was a little scared, and he just wanted to like check call one street, which is perfectly reasonable. And then just when he made that really committing looking bet on the turn, that's going to scare out all of those hands. So. Yeah, that's another reason I think he maybe would want to get deep on table 3 is he has a couple of deepish regulars on his left, and they're going to be 3-betting you light a lot and whatnot. If you're deep stacked, you can more profitably call their 3-bets in half position, things like that. They're probably going to be less likely to 3-bet you out of position because they're worried about you flatting them with a lot of medium strength hands and outplaying them. So it's almost more of a defense more than anything. If you've got like deep stacked aggressive regulars on your left, yeah, well, you might want to get deep stacked yourself. Although conversely, if it was like you were in the in the middle position and they were in the cutoff or button, they might 3-bet you in position more, which deep stacked, which may be bad for you. So you said it might balance out actually. But again, you're not going to be raising like a whole ton from middle position. So yeah, I just think in general against like aggressive regulars, I'd rather be if they're to my left, I'd rather be deep stacks just to discourage them from playing back at me from the blinds. And if they start 3-betting me a lot with position on me, then I'll probably tighten up my MP raising range. So yeah, I'm only going to go a couple more minutes. I've probably missed some pretty good hands in here just because I get focused on one table and just really thinking about what I'm trying to say. And so I apologize if I missed some of your hands in here, Lemon. Just tried to notice as many as I could. Table 2, he looks like he flopped an open-ended straight draw multi-way, and there's a bet and a min raise. So I would just fold. The first better could come over the top, and it kind of looks like Rexwex has a good 10 or a set or something. Yeah, and he's out of position against both of them. You'd like to play it, but I think you just fold the 4-5 there. Yeah, I don't like that call because you're out of position against two guys. The initial better could like come over the top of this, and then you have to bitch fold. So yeah, I didn't really like that call. But luckily he ginned the turn, and I definitely think Rexwex has a set. And I don't know what he's thinking about jamming here. What are you doing? I would definitely, well, he's out of position. That's why this makes it so hard to play. Pause it for a second because this is kind of why I was harping on the position aspect of it, where, now you gin your nuts. If you check raise, it looks like unbelievably strong. And you're basically saying I have a set or a straight. Hello. And but if you do just check call the turn, then you leave it open for him to check behind the river, and you don't get like max value out of top pair and sets that might get a little spooked or something like. Yeah, so I guess. Wow. Yeah, and they were a little bit deep stacked, so that makes it even a little trickier. Yeah, it's just you can't just check call here and then donk out the river. Like it just looks like so incredibly strong. And even check raising here is so incredibly strong. So I just really like playing these sorts of situations in position a lot better. It's just so hard to extract when you're out of position without just like turning your hand face up. So yeah, I guess you just have to check raise now and just pray he can't fold a set, even though you look like retardedly strong. Alright, well, yeah, Rex made a pretty bad mistake just min-raising that flop. I don't know what he was thinking doing that. It's pretty poor. At least raise it 3 times the bet. And yeah, the guy that led only led like half pot, and he min-raises that, so that's a pretty bad play. And I guess he could put you on 3-3, but that's pretty much all he's beating when you take that line of checking and just flatting 16 on the flop and then check raising like a pot bet on the turn. Pretty much saying, hi, I have 4-5 or a set. And so, yeah, just don't really like the flop call, but it worked out perfectly this time, but probably wouldn't in the long run. Alright, well, on that note, I'll wrap up this video before it gets too terribly long. I hope you guys got something out of this video and my little critique. Apologize for any rambling that might have taken place or any hands I didn't give enough attention to. And if you got any comments on my commentary, I'm sure some of it was good and maybe some of it was short-sighted or something like that, or lacking in logic. But do the best I can with these on-the-spot, improvised commentaries. Love to hear your guys' response, and good luck at the tables. This is Goldseraph for Deuces Cracked.